that film is the real McCoy.
All right. In your paper, you mentioned something about DNA data acquisition. What kind of direction does it go? How do you manage it?
Right. Well, I was just prior to the pandemic, I was beginning to develop a project using environmental DNA methods. eDNA, and I was beginning a collaboration with a researcher in New Zealand, Neil Gemmell, who happens to have led the multinational team that were testing the waters of Loch Ness in terms of the monster there. And so when I happened to have met one of his former students, who introduced us. The student had visited me and wanted to learn more about Sasquatch research, and he was also a geneticist. And he said, "You should talk to my advisor, my professor." And so Dr. Gemmell was very excited about the prospect of applying these environmental techniques, sampling water and soil, soil from nests or from footprints, try to extract DNA from those samples.
Okay. パンデミック前に eDNA っていう環境 DNA っていう、指標の研究を始めようとしていて、それでいろいろやっていたらニュージーランドのやっている先生がいて、そのニュージーランドの先生がたまたまネス湖の水をやってうなぎがどうだっていうようなで、そこの人のその先生自身にもあったし、それからその弟子みたいな人にもあって、そういうような形でやっていって、今一番最初にやっているのはパンデミック前に始まった環境 DNA からのアプローチっていうことをやっているっていうことですね。はい。So, okay, all right. So in the year 2021, there were a lot of sighting reports and the video footage of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Are they getting to feel more comfortable, just being with the, human environment type of living, or, you know what I mean?
I believe it's more that there are more iPhones.
Yeah.
And with social media, people can very easily share what they believe they have. Unfortunately, although there may appear to be more, most of these are not very credible. They're not necessarily hoaxes, but more often just misidentifications, misinterpretations of common animals or people doing things in the woods. So I'm more concerned that if anything, as time goes on, there will be fewer and fewer and fewer Sasquatch. Their habitat is reduced and fragmented.
結局はソーシャルメディアのあれなんだよね。で、もう映っている、公表されているものはもうほとんどがもうフェイクであるということで、今一通り。
ということはさ、一番信じられる動画っていうのはやっぱパターソンフィルムなんです。
So, what do you think that the Patterson Gimlin film is the credible thing?
Yes, I mean it's
top of the yeah.
Yeah, and so everything else, even if it could be real, everything else that has come to light is down here somewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't add very much more information.
There is a big gap between,
Yeah.
So more.
It was exceptional. I mean, the best film, of the time, the best film stock, the best, the best he could do for an amateur camera, and broad daylight in the mid-afternoon.
もうすごい非太陽もすごいいい感じだし。なんかどうぞどんどん聞いて。
Yeah, and a clear view, unobstructed view, as it were.
もう本当に何もないとこで、もういい光もいい感じで午後の光でしたからね。
で急にだもんね。
なるほど。
あれを超えるものはないと。
And there's gonna be anything be appearing, which is better than the Patterson Gimli film. Do you think?
Well, I mean, it's possible. At some point, somebody may capture a film that's better, but I mean, even the blatant, the obvious fakes or hoaxes don't even hold a candle, as we say, to by comparison. So it really, it's unfortunate that it was if it had been captured now, if that film had been taken now, given what we know in anthropology, I think the reaction would have been very different. Because I often ask myself, why scientists, reject it completely. And after thinking about that for a long time and reflecting on the history of ideas in anthropology, it became clear. In the 60s, there was an idea called the single species hypothesis. And it proposed that the hominin niche was so narrow there could be only one species. It's just like in ecology today. We teach that only one species per niche. You can't have two because they'll compete, and one will either go extinct or they will partition the niche. So in the 60s, it was thought that human evolution was just one species after another after another. So there couldn't be any others. But now, like I said, we now know that it's a good tree, and there's lots of others, at least in the past, recognized. So if the film were discovered today, I think it would have, even in spite of the fact, see, the other side is movie technology, computer animation, CGI. Those things make it make it easier to hoax something like that.
Okay. 60年代っていうのはおそらくもう一つの種類から一つの種しかもう学抜的にそういうのしかなかった。で、今の時代に同じようなパターソン・ギムリンフィルムがあればもっと広い視野から見られていくつもその選択肢っていうのがあるわけでしょ。さっきのグループわけじゃないけど、そういうことからなったんだけども、どうも60年代っていうのは専門家の先生たちがこれをもう拒絶しちゃって最初からもうつまずいちゃったっていう感じ。So do you think it's some kind of a byproduct of Darwinism or?
Well, if we accept that the diversity of animals we see today is the result of evolutionary processes, then we are on one branch and it's just another branch of primate that has evolved the habit of walking on two legs as we do. That's the only human-like characteristic. It walks on two legs.
Yeah. まあそういうことなんでね、一つのこれでもう大きなあれっていうことで分かれているんですけども、なんかどんどんありますかもっと。
これ簡単に説明しても
らう。もう一回。
違う。
親父が日本語でしゃべる。
これをさ。
Can you see it, alright?
Yes.
Right here. Okay. Could you please explain this chart or this picture?
Well, one of the things that I undertook. Let me back up. It's not acceptable to describe a new species on the basis of footprint.
足元がまず新しい種をこれだけで決めるわけにいかない。
But we can describe and name the footprint.
これはあるわけですね。違いは。
And so that's called ethnotaxonomy.
ethnotaxonomy。なんとかっていうのはごめん、ちょっとそれはあれなんで。はい。
And so by naming the Sasquatch foot, or Anthropoidopes ameriborealis, that is, then we give it a description and diagnosis. the diagnosis helps us to distinguish it from other species. So that figure showed the distinctive morphology of the Sasquatch as compared to its closest
形状のこと言ってますね。
human and great apes.
Yeah. So that we will be able to make comparisons, right? I mean,
Yes.
so
Yep.
I see quite stark, just obvious comparison or obvious differences between among these three footprints right here.
Yes.
So that's what you mean.
Right, exactly. So the Sasquatch track resembles humans in the loss of the divergent big toe,
こ
but
の
it
形
has
がす
no
ごい
arch.
よね。
Right. It has no arch, it's flat,
扁平足。
very,
あ、
very
これか。
そう。
flexible through the instep, very broad, very broad heel and broad forefoot. And the toes are a bit longer, not as long as gorillas, but more prehension than a human.
こう捕まんで、そう。And it touches the heels first, right?
Well, because there's no arch, it tends to step more with the
directly.
foot. Yes. So you notice it's a little bit misleading to show the footprint compared to the human foot, because there are some distinctions. If we had a human footprint, you would see a very deep impression under the heel, because we walk with the heel strike. Heel strike and
最後
toe
に見
off.
せようかと。
They tend to walk flatter and push off from the entire forefoot
これ
rather than.
ボーンってやってこういうふうに歩き方なのね。
こうや
そう
ってで
ドーンってやってこういうふうに行く。
Because of their great weight, because of that large weight,
すごい体が大きいからね。
an arched foot puts excessive pressure
So-
here and here.
ここが体が大きいからこういうふうになってるとこことここに圧がかかっちゃうからこうバンって
バンっていく
そう
だからこの部分とかかとだけの足跡も見つかってるんですよね。だからそういうの
So there are parts of some of the footprints like just not the whole thing but this part and this part just like toes and heel.
Not very well. Not very often. There sometimes are a pressure ridge.
Yeah, pressure ridge ね。Okay, pressure ridge. Yeah, that's what we call it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
そう俺らのさ分かれてるとかそうなってる。
It's not like the foot has come down
Yes,
and left.
yes. That's what I mean.
But rather,
Thank you.
but rather as it
Yeah,
extends,
right.
it comes up on the front part and it pushes some of the soil
Yeah.
back, creates that hump.
あ
That flexibility, that
フレキシビリティね。
そうここの山があるからそうなんだ。
then apes would hold on to the tree trunk,
Yeah.
and they still needed
木に
some
捕まるん
leverage.
だよね、猿って。Right.
So we have given that up and made the arch stiff, so the whole foot acts like a lever on the ground.
まあそういうような感じでもう分かれた感じはしないで、ポスポンっていうふうにやってさ。Are you doing some kind of on-site or field research and everything?
Since the pandemic,
Yeah.
We have not had
やってないね、パンデミックからやっぱり。フィールドワークは。
travel has been limited
That's right.
from the university. And then plus I have some health issues,
Okay.
some heart issues
あ、
that
ちょっと心臓
I
悪い
can't
ね。
I
あ、そうなんだ。
can't backpack as much as I used to.
Okay.
So I'm doing more writing and editing.
So when is your new report coming out?
Well, I'm working on a couple of different book projects.
Oh, great.
I edit a journal. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. I edit a journal, the Relic Hominoid Inquiry.
Yeah.
It's a free online journal.
Yeah.
And so I publish in that occasionally, recently. But I'm working on a book right now looking at Bigfoot in the American Southwest, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, an area where
本書いてそうですね。いいですね。
not commonly thought of as Sasquatch territory, but there are
サスカチテリト
mountainous
リーじゃないけ
forests
ど、まあ南部の方のやつやってるって。なんか
around the Colorado
Alright,
plateau.
okay.
これ
Yeah.
ど
So
の時
it'll be a while. It'll be a
コ
while.
スチューム聞いてるよ。
これ気になる。
そうそう、最後ラストいいとか。
Okay, so let's say, I mean, there are these creatures called Bigfoot Sasquatch, right? What do you think they really are?
Yeah. I think they are like a bipedal gorilla.
直立型の
Maybe a little more intelligent. Maybe something like an early, or like a hominin like Paranthropus. Boise is a good comparison. Or Gigantopithecus, which is known from China, Vietnam. I don't think that they are wild humans. I don't think that they are intelligent. I don't think they speak. They have no material culture. They have no stone tools. They build no house.
家を作れないという。
Build no fire.
OK。
そうだよな。
OK。
They're animals.
OK。聞いてないわ。
5番下に
なんだっけ、したいと。
OK。
さっきちょっと話してくれた。
OK。Just let me get back to this. Let me ask you this just one more time. Why, this we never found bodies or bones.
Right. Two reasons. The first has to do with their natural history. I believe that they are very rare. Being at the top of the food chain, there are no natural predators. So they are long-lived. We age to be 50 years old. And we know that there's a positive correlation of longevity with body size. So
体の大きさと長寿の差あるいは相関関係が見られるので長いから。So do they just just like is there anything like an elephant tomb or
Well, right, the elephant graveyard. Well, that explains that does it as well. Because elephants live long, there aren't.
That's right. That's what I mean.
Right, and when they die, predators and scavengers come and make use of the resource. I often show my students. There's an excellent video, a time-lapse video. They put a camera on an elephant that had been killed by poachers, and in 2 weeks, everything was gone. Every bit of scrap, even the grease spot on the dirt was gone.
今ね、象の墓場の話をしたんですけども、象の話でハゲタカみたいなのがバーッと食っちゃって2週間ぐらいで全部あれでもうそこにある土壌に残っている油のシミみたいなのもなくなっちゃうって。
じゃあ痕跡が一切ない。
痕跡です。Yeah, that'll explain everything.
Well, yes. But then, in addition, let me just add one other.
Sure.
So, the natural history, long life, no predators, natural deaths, which are less frequent because they probably, like I said, live to be 50 years old. But then they live in wet coniferous forests that produce acidic soils. And so bone that isn't chewed up by animals quickly deteriorates in the soil and is not likely to fossilize.
OK。湿度の高い森に住んでいるので、そういうところの土壌っていうのは酸性土壌なので、その酸性の土壌が骨とか筋肉組織とかを溶かしてしまってっていうか、腐敗が早く進むっていうか、そういうことなので、いなくなる。
でだから土壌に染み込んでしまったりとか、そういってしまったやつを、この今後の eDNA とかで調べてるってことですね。
EDA、that's right. eDNA analysis is to study the soil of the everything is absorbed in, right?
Right. Now, and here's the challenge. Even if we get DNA of a Sasquatch, eDNA studies often the samples have very fragmented DNA. And so it takes a lot of work to piece back together. If you're dealing with two species that are very similar, then any missing information might be critical in distinguishing them. We share 96 to 98% identity with chimpanzee. And so if you just went in and sampled a little piece of it's almost identical, or it is identical to human.
Okay.
And so some of our samples that have gone previously to be tested, they have come back as human. And so it's assumed that it is either contamination from the human hair or simply misidentification. It was a human hair.
Yeah.
But the third possibility is that we haven't sequenced enough to find those very few differences. So the result of a superficial study, of course, is that, oh, it's just human.
あのね、このフラグメントっていうのがあって DNA のそれをこう一つの一つというか一箇所の土壌から集めた時にもバラバラなんでそれが非常に多いのが難しいのとたまたま2種類いたらそれを区別するのがすごく難しい。で人間とチンパンジーっていうのは 98% ぐらいあれでそれぐらいあるでしょ。で例えばその土壌を拾った時に人間の髪の毛が落ちちゃったりとか人間の、こういう皮脂というか指の油みたいなのがついちゃったりしたらもうそこでコンタミネーションって今おっしゃったけども、そういうのが起きてしまうのでそこでもう分類するのが難しくなっちゃう。
かなり
難しいね。
So it's a hard work, isn't it?
It's hard. It's hard. We need much more DNA, and we need a lot more analysis.
Yeah. So what kind of time frame are we talking about here?
Well, just by example, Neil Gemmell from New Zealand, his augment study was 3 years.
Oh.
Years to finally come to his conclusions.
3年間。
So, I don't think we're going to solve it on a weekend.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. まあ週末に解けるような問題ではない。
大体こんなところで。
もう聞いたんだよね。
最後にですね。プラスターキャストをいくつぐらい持ってるか。
So what kind? Okay. Well, Mr. Namiki is just curious. How many Presta casters do you have?
300.
300個もあんだ。
Yeah. Over 300. And that includes some from also from Australia and Russia and China and Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and so forth.
Okay, Mr. Namiki has got one and he wants to show you.
Show you.
Oh, okay. Oh yes, that's the Hereford cast from Western Washington.
Western Washington つってるよ。
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I bought global crowns.
Yes. I now have the mold that cast came from.
Have you ever come to our country? Have you ever been to Japan?
No, I've not. I've been to Korea once, but not to Japan.
Okay,
I've been to
yeah.
Korea and China, but not Japan.
Okay, we're gonna meet here in Japan next time.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I know a very good sushi bar around here, so. Okay, when we go to America, in the which is I think it's pretty near, it's in the near future. Can we pay a visit to you and say hello, maybe?
Yes, definitely. Please do.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Meldon, Dr. Meldon, thank you so much for your time again, and this has been a very productive and fruitful and educational time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye now.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
バイ。
ということでお話聞いたんですけども、どうだったでしょうか。
いやすごくいい人。
なんかいい人ですね。なんか会いたくなっちゃう感じのオーラ出してましたね。
フレンドリーだよね。
フレンドリー。
本当ですね。なんか結構やっぱり
結構距離感ぐっと縮まったやつ。
お堅い感じがね
そう
あったんですよ。やっぱその教授っていう准教授でちゃんとした人類学の教授で真面目にこう研究なさってるからやっぱちょっととっつきにくい部分というかなんかそういうまあ勝手な偏見ですけどねなんかあったんですけど全然
研究の方向性っていうのもその環境 DNA のデータを取ってっていうのでそのまあ一緒にやってる人がネスコの湖水の調査をしたニュージーランドの先生だっていうのが面白かったなって思う。
あそこでつながるんですねやっぱね。
結構つながりますね。
だからやっぱクオリティがさ違うんだよね。
全然
やっぱリサーチャーによってクオリティがさ違うんだから。
学会っていう感じだとやっぱビッグフットハンターと違うね。
違うんだやっぱりね正統派のリサーチ
ャーだから、
ハンターじゃねえんだよ。
ハンターじゃないんですよ、リサーチャーなんですよね。
やっぱ全然違うよね、
もう信憑性がやっぱねちゃんとあるし、でやっぱ簡単にすぐに認めないところもね、
やっぱり
当たり
主流
前ですけど
派科学って結構割と主流派科学はすぐ否定がしがちだっておっしゃってましたね、
そうですね、
すでに
はい、
もうおっしゃってましたけど、その主流派科学にいながらこういう研究なさってるとやっぱ異端というか男気があるというか、
いやすごいよかったね、
今日ちょっとなかなか面白いですね。ビッグフット結構面白いですね、これからも。
だからやっぱりちゃんと研究してる人とこう喋るとね、
でつながってっていうことがやっぱ、
だからそういうことだよ、
そういうことですね、しっかりと。
そう
次はどうですか
ね、
親父は。
次のプラン、次はほら前から言ってんだけどさ、やっぱりリアルタイムでクロップサークル、
クロップサークルかクロップサークルね、
スティーブ・アレクサンダーちょっとさらにコンタクトしてた。
もうね、
そうですね、でもね
やっぱり
できたらすごいよな。
上からリアルタイムでさサークルを見てライブで
そう、
じゃあ次回ですね、
次回は
海外の
そうイギリスね、
リサーチャーイギリス、スティーブ・アレキサンダーさんとつながってですね、今度はミステリーサークル、まあ向こうで言うとクロップサークルですね、クロップサークルのまあ最新研究とか、ライブ映像とか、見られたらいいなと。
いやもうこういうの楽しいなすごい楽しいわ
僕らもね楽しみながらやれてるのですごいいいですね。
違うよね、
なんていうのかな、ライブ感、
ライブ感、
グルーブっていうの、
そうライブ感
ね、
レイブだよ、
レイブスですね。はい、今もう締めようとしてるからちょっとイチャイ
ごめん
チャしないで今締めようとしてるからね。はい、ということでですね、また次回またすごい方とつなぐ予定ございますので、その時をお楽しみに。